once again, Knight fans, to Holding Court with Todd Dagenais. Along with the coach, I'm Jeff Sharon. UCF with a tough road weekend this past weekend as they went out west to face SMU and Tulsa, the top two teams in Conference USA this season. Coach, we start out with that big match in Dallas on Friday night against SMU. You guys took them to the wall. You guys fall in 5, but a very, very tough performance for everybody involved. Kristen Fisher with 26 kills. It was really a thrilling match to see. And from your perspective, you know, it's so nice to see your team really step up against a tough opponent like SMU. Tell me about the overall effort that your team put forth in taking the Mustangs to 5.
Well, I'll tell you, you know, and that's a top 40, top 50 team there, and they've been throttling people left and right. And you know, it was on one of those weekends on paper, on the road, long travel, tough travel. Yeah. You know, we could have easily been 0-3, 0-3, hop in the plane and come back home. And you know, that always sits in the back of your mind. Is that a possibility? Well, sure, it's a possibility, but this team didn't let it happen. You know, we went in there, and you know, we found ourselves up 2-1 against SMU with an opportunity to win it. And in the fourth set, we were up 21-20 after a nice block play, and you know, we were on the verge of it. We had a great swing for 22, just missed it long, and really from there on out, we went down really trying to score points, and that's something I'm real proud of. We never ever got scared. We never got tentative. We were trying to win, and we made errors trying to win. And I think that's along the natural growth curve of a team. You know, sometimes you win. Sometimes you get in those situations and you win because you're lucky. Sometimes you get in those situations you have to win because you're good and you have to make plays. And at least we had the gumption to get out there and make the plays, not let SMU lose. And, you know, we tried to make the plays, and unfortunately we came up short in some of the swings, but, man, we went for it. And then the same thing once we got into the 5th game. You know, we went for it. We made errors trying to win instead of errors being afraid to lose. And I think that's a huge, huge, huge milestone in this program's history.
But a big defensive night for Nicole Rydell as well. 4 solo blocks, 4 block assists. Also, Angelica Crump pitched in with 12 kills. Both teams came out evenly numbers-wise. Both teams hitting 149. What was your evaluation of the defense in that match as well?
You know, the defense wasn't great on either side. I don't think. You know, I really feel, and I'm sure their coach would say too, that they didn't play their best defensive game of the year. We did not play our best defensive game of the year. We were pretty good, but not great. I think it was just a situation where the serving was pretty tough on both sides of the net, and it kept the numbers down. Both teams just couldn't get killed, so it was tough to come by. And you know, that's the time of the year. For us, that's being on the road. For them, that's the pressure of, are they really the number 2 team in the conference? I think there's a lot of interesting factors that are converging all at the same time.
So then after that, 2 days later, you head up to Tulsa, Oklahoma to play the now number 25 ranked Golden Hurricane. It was a tough match. You guys fall in 3. Held Henderson, their superstar, to just 12 kills, but it was everybody else who really stepped up for Tulsa. Give me your evaluation of playing a team like that on the road, tough environment, and they proved why they were the number 1 team in the conference.
Yeah, no, you know, they certainly have some weaknesses that you try to exploit, but what's different about them is that not only they know their weaknesses, you know, they find ways to cover and defend their weaknesses, and you know, you want to take adjustment. And so I really give them a lot of credit for knowing who they are as a team. And sure, the goal was to you know, have Tyler Henderson slow her down and try to make everybody else beat us, and they were able to do that. We held her in check. We held her numbers down well below her season average, and the other players just stepped up and played. I got to respect a team that can do that.
How good are they? Just seeing them with
worse than they were on tape, and I thought they were pretty good on tape. You know, I really feel like, and I was talking to Ed, their coach, at the end, and you know, I said, you know, they have the ability certainly to go to the Sweet 16. They have all the tools. They have 4 solid options attacking, and their 5th option's not that bad. You know, they have some weaknesses, but they know how to hide them. You know, that's the kind of team that can win a first-round match, and then can get up against the seeded team in the 2nd round and knock them off. You know, beyond that, what happens? You know, if they can score points, they can win. But I think they're pretty good. You know, I think they're competitive in any league in the country. Does that mean they go out and they win the Pac-10 or the Big 10 or the Big 12? No, I don't think that's the case. But they're competitive. They can compete, and they have a puncher's chance of winning sets and winning matches. So I think they're pretty good. It might be one of the better Conference USA teams to come around in a long, long time.
It's a scary team come Thanksgiving once the tournament gets underway.
Sure.
Now, what did your players think about them after the match was over, and you take stock and you evaluate of, okay, where do we stand against the class of the conference? What did you see in their eyes that they thought where they were against them?
Well, I'll tell you what the thing I think is most interesting about Tulsa is that they think like champions. They walk like champions. They act like champions. They step on the floor like champions. And they have that confidence of having won 20-some-odd straight matches in a row. And sometimes, I was just talking with the staff about this in the office. Sometimes that might be a false confidence, but if that's what gets you over the top, sometimes the false confidence isn't that bad. You just have to have a realistic confidence when you step against a team that's better than you. But they are better than everybody else. They know it. They play like it, and I really respect that. They're just, you hoping that you could catch them in a trap game. And I think the reality was they caught us in a trap game. I think they were going for the record, most conference wins ever. They were going for a top 25 ranking. They knew that they were on the verge, and they knew they needed to win big to do it. And I think for us it was a home. There's a lot of emotions that took place heading into that match. That was Rachel going back home and seeing her old friends, and I know a team that really didn't want to let her down, so they pressed a little bit, and we just come off this emotional match on Friday night that we really we didn't recover, and frankly today we still haven't recovered from. We're still trying to find ways to get through that. So like I said, it was a real interesting convergence of things over the weekend that took place, but Tulsa is that good.
Yeah. Well, right now they're sitting pretty atop the conference. They're 13-0 in the league, 23-2 overall, like we said earlier. Ranked for the first time in school history in the ABCA Top 25 poll. They're right at number 25. Their RPI is number 37. SMU right behind them in the conference standings at 11-2. Rice and Houston knotted up at 9-4, 3-4 in the league. Southern Miss right behind them by a game at 8-5, and UCF tied with Memphis at 5-7 right now, and 12-12 overall. So you guys are in pretty good shape. You have 5 of the last 8 at home now, including the next 4. Tulane and Southern Miss this weekend, followed by another shot at Tulsa and another shot at SMU the following weekend. So now this is a pretty critical 4-game stretch for you, isn't it?
They are all critical when you start hitting the stretch, and we take a look at our goals. What's the goals? Well, we want to finish in the top half of the conference. That's out there for us. We certainly have the ability to do that. We can take a huge step forward this weekend by having some success against the 2 teams that are coming in. And, we split with these guys on the road. We sure would like to try and get a sweep at home. And I think we're going to put our best foot forward, and I feel like that we're going to be really competitive this weekend because this is a team that understands what's on the line and has the ability to go out and do something about it. And so as we find our confidence again this week and we put last weekend behind us, I think we've got a lot of things to look forward to heading into the weekend.
Friday at 6 p.m. is the time for the Tulane match at the venue, followed by Sunday at 1 p.m. UCF against Southern Miss. Make sure you check UCFathletics.com for more on the schedule. Let's take a look overall. I wanted to talk to you about the RPIs in conference. Like we said, Tulsa's at 37 RPI in the country. SMU behind them 11 spots at 48. Rice and Houston 98 and 91. That's kind of interchangeable depending upon what happens in a given weekend. Southern Miss is actually ahead of those 2 in the RPI at 75, and then Memphis, who we're tied with at 126. Right now we're 206. But as things change, tell me what you think. Do you think that those RPIs really reflect what the standings should look like in the conference?
I don't, not at all. I think this is going to be one of those years where the RPI is going to really lie, and I think we're a great example of it. The computers have us at 140. The RPI has us at 206. So what goes into the RPI? Well, first of all, your record. And our record is ranked 140-something in the country. Our opponent's record is ranked somewhere in the 140s. But our opponent's record is somewhere down in the 280s.
Yeah.
And what is that? So, and that's 50% of the equation. That's half of the equation right there. Just for example, heading into the weekend, our opponent's record was .40. They won 40% of their matches. Just after playing these 2 teams that we lost to, the 50% of the equation went up to .44. So that's how much it can jump just by playing good teams. We made the mistake of scheduling a little bit easier than what we should have, and that's on me. That's my mistake. We scheduled we end up scheduling matches against teams that are way, way, way below 500. And the trick is to try and schedule as many matches against 500 or better teams that you can beat. And so that was absolutely an calculation error in how we scheduled. And it's going to cost us at the very end in terms of RPI. Fortunately, the computers look at who you beat, how close it is, how close you are to beating good teams, and that loss, that 5-game loss to SMU jacked us up huge in the computer polls. I think the computers are right. We're somewhere in the 120 to 140 range right now. And we've already beaten several teams that are ahead of us in the RPI. But the problem is the strength of schedule for us was low. We just misscheduled. And that's going to cost us all year because there's going to be no way we can make up for what other teams are doing.
I don't know. That's a tough break because sometimes that's stuff that you really can't control.
No, and we thought that some of the teams that we scheduled were going to be better than what they were, and for whatever reason, they're 5-25. Well, that's a win percentage of like 120 or something, and that it's really killing us overall.
Well, as we look at the RPI and the national perspective, some interesting developments taking place there. Florida #1 in the AVCA top 25 and the RPI. The AVCA, by the way, has Florida, Cal, Stanford, Hawaii, Nebraska 1 through 5. RPI, way different right now. Florida, Illinois, who's 6th in the AVCA and having a great year in the Big Ten. They've really stepped themselves up. Nebraska's moves up to 3 when you look at the RPI. Penn State's 4. And lurking at #5 in the RPI is Northern Iowa, 13th in the coaches, and the Panthers are #5 in the RPI. When I saw that, I did a double take. What is Northern Iowa doing in the top 5 of the national RPI?
Well, there's a couple things. We said 25% is your record. They have a real good record. 50% of it is your opponent's record, and they played a tough schedule. And just those two things together can really skew the overall RPI numbers. And again, I really like to see us come up with more of a computer ranking that takes a lot more factors. Other than we could go and we could play the top 20 teams in the country, lose all 20 matches, and have an RPI somewhere in the 40s or 50s.
Yeah.
Be 0-20 with an RPI somewhere in the 40s or 50s. And so I don't think that's right. And so, I think the mid-majors, like us, like Northern Iowa, they have to find ways to manipulate the RPI game. And Northern Iowa's found a way to do it.
Yeah. Well, even so, they've certainly won some matches this year because they're still 13th in the coaches poll. And also Florida, once again, Sunshine State Volleyball looking very nicely as we head to the latter part of the season with UF at 1 in both of those polls. Now let's come back and take a look at the upcoming schedule. Now, like we said, 5 of the last 8 at home. You've got Tulane on Friday, Southern Miss on Sunday. Obviously, like we mentioned before, same question goes from before. Objectives. Obviously, you want to win both. What do you really want to see beneath or in between when you read in between the lines in these 2 matches coming up?
Well, I want to see us progress. I want to see our hitting numbers continue to go up. I want to see our blocking numbers and defensive numbers continue. But more important than anything else, even if those numbers don't go up, if we can come out with 2 wins this weekend, really solidify our role in the top half of the conference, we're continuing on a successful drive to a finish of the season.
All right, looks pretty good right now. Once again, a reminder for you, Friday, 6 p.m. at the venue, UCF takes on the Tulane Greenway, followed by Sunday, 1 p.m., UCF taking on Southern Miss. And don't forget, the big weekend following that, once again at the venue, as UCF takes on Tulsa and SMU, the top 2 teams in the conference, coming to the venue, not this weekend, but the following weekend. Be sure to come on out to the venue. Log on to UCFathletics.com for more information, including tickets for UCF Volleyball. Also, follow UCF Volleyball on Facebook and Twitter. Log on to Facebook.com/UCF Volleyball, and also UCF's Twitter handle is @UCF_volleyball. Once again, it's UCF_volleyball on Twitter. Coach, congratulations on the week, and best of luck this coming weekend against the 2 Gulf Coast schools coming to town.
Thank you very much.
All right, and this has been Holding Court with the coach, Todd Dagenais, along with the coach. I am Jeff Sharon. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll catch you next week as UCF has that big home weekend coming up against Tulsa, against Tulane and Southern Miss. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you again next week.